Good day.
Good day.
Hi Bashar, it's Tami from Israel. Can you tell us more about Yael and Pleiadians' world? Like how many hours do they sleep and what do they eat and how their structures looks like? What do they do in their daily lives? Thank you. I love you. Bye.
That's a lot of information. We will not be delivering all of that. However, both civilizations do not sleep much at all. And it depends upon what you call sleep, because they can make connections to their spirit selves in a more constant way than you do, and therefore don't need the idea of sleep in the same way that you do. They might even just drop into what you would call a meditative state temporarily, and it would accomplish the same thing that you're accomplishing by having many hours of sleep. So neither of them really sleep much in that sense. The idea, again, of food is that it is usually of a lighter quality, more of the idea of either juices or vegetables in that sense. And in their daily lives, it depends upon the individual. Some are creatively artistic, some are scientifically investigative, some have many different kinds of functions according to their passions. So in that sense, they have a lot of similarity, even though they have a lot of differences as well. For the Pleiadians are mostly your genetic cousins in the sense of being of assistance to you to move forward in your civilization in an exciting way that brings you closer together. Whereas the Yael are more specifically about introducing the hybrid children to your planet to begin the particular process of evolving into the sixth hybrid race.
Hello, hi Bashar, how are you?
Perfect, and you?
I'm great. Yeah, Bashar, so I have a question related to sacred circuits. So I wanted to know if tetraskelion or the swastika symbol that was also used in the Nazi flag with a circle in the center, a sacred circuit.
It is a sacred circuit, but on a higher level than we've delivered at this point. Understand that the swastika has been around for thousands of years and represents the idea of the flow of creative energy in the cosmos, in the universe. So yes, it's a sacred circuit that can help rewire the brain when focused on in a positive energy, in a positive state, to understand how to blend with and align with the creative energies of the universe, of all that is. But it has to be used that way. Obviously, the way the Nazis used it was a misunderstanding and a corruption of its original intention, which exists in many ancient civilizations, Tibetan, Native American, so on and so forth. They understood its original meaning and used it in its original way. So you can too, if you wish.
Okay, so is there a single word that we can associate with it?
A single word?
Yeah, like you have given for other sacred circuits.
Yes. Alignment with creation. It's not a single word, but it's a concept.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Bashar. And I also have a question related to the Anunnaki. So why was it out of integrity on part of the Anunnaki to create humans for their survival?
Because it was against their laws to do so.
Okay.
Because the idea of the creation, the injection of their genetic material to create a new species was simply not within the realm of their acceptable laws at the time, especially because they didn't necessarily guide those people correctly, where new Anunnaki had to come in to do so to make up for the mistakes that that group of Anunnaki that created Homo sapiens undertook. So they broke their laws in many different ways.
Okay.
Out of desperation.
Okay. And who was or what was Apep or Apophis that is said to have been attacking Ra, the ancient Egyptian god?
The idea of Apophis was simply the idea of the destructive principle.
Okay, so it was not an entity or some being.
Not in the way that you mean it, no. It's an archetypal energy that represents the energy of breaking things down, of destroying things so they can be rebuilt. Of course, there are many different interpretations that have happened on your planet.
Okay. And did the Sasquatch also have any incarnation connection to the ancient Orion system?
No.
Oh, okay. So they did not have any negative expressions of oppression or warfare.
They had their own pathway, but they do not share much of it with Homo sapiens.
Okay, so can we say, like, say the warfare and oppression is actually a genetic problem?
No. It's a training problem. It's a learning issue. It's a matter of happening into a system that has certain kinds of negative cycles associated with it in order for the purpose of overcoming them, of transforming them. But it's not really a genetic problem initially. It can embed itself in your genetics over time, but it doesn't originate because of the genetic structure.
Okay. And then you also mentioned that the Earth has a frequency of 7.85 hertz, and then Earth is also a world of cycles. So how does this frequency of 7.85 hertz cause the cyclic nature of the Earth?
It is the base cycle that encourages you to come back to alignment. The idea is that when the cycle becomes something other than that, when the frequency becomes something other than that, you can be going out of alignment and following the cycles of destruction. But by going back into alignment with the natural resonance of the earth, then you are bringing yourself back into alignment and thus allowing yourself to go beyond the original cycles that give you the opportunity to explore negativity and limitation.
Okay, Bashar. And can you share a vibrational phone number for Shambhala?
Shambhala, or Shangri-La, as some people refer to it, has a image that you can meditate on of 3 crystal spheres, one being pure white, one being soft blue, and one being soft pink.
Okay. In what shape? Or
In a triangle.
okay, in a triangle.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then I think I will have the last question now. So, what is your definition of death, Bashar? And is there a way to have life review that we have after dying while we are alive?
Yes, you can experience some degree of life review while you're alive, but in most cases that would be pointless because you're still alive. Therefore, you wouldn't necessarily have a complete life review. You may get moments of it, flashes of it, that can help you align yourself. But in the idea of transitioning into spirit, when you are done with this particular experience, then it is more appropriate for you to have the entire life review, because then you can understand the relationship and the connections between every single moment of the actual physical life experience. But sometimes when people are in certain circumstances and they say, oh, my life flashed before my eyes, in some sense they are tapping into the idea of life review because they truly believe that at any moment they might die. But there are other circumstances where you can come to an understanding, a gestalt understanding of something, and tap into the idea of recognizing what something was all about in your life. But you will not necessarily have an entire life review unless you are either close to death or have actually died.
Okay, Bashar.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Bashar.
Good day.
Yeah, good day to you too. Bye.
Hi, Bashar. This is Karen from Belgium. I have learned to trust the signs that I get on my path, and there are a lot of signs that have to do with ancient Egypt. So I would like to know something more about ancient Egypt. What was the main energy frequency in ancient Egypt? Where did the inhabitants came from? And were there connections to Sirius or to Orion? Can you speak a bit more about this? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, there were many connections to Sirius and ancient Orion in being played out in many civilizations on your planet over time. As we have said, there are many stories that are the continuation from many different places that allow you to play them out and figure out how you would like them to conclude or move on. by joining the Earth cycle of opportunity to explore those things. We're not sure what you're asking when you say what was the frequency of ancient Egypt, because you're talking about a combined frequency of many, many hundreds of thousands of different individuals. If you're looking for an overall representation of ancient Egypt as a resonant frequency, you could say that they were existing somewhere, depending on who was involved, in the neighborhood of about 60 to 70,000 up to 80,000 cycles per second. But again, it depends upon what era. It depends upon what their focus was at that particular time. It depends upon how many remnants of the Atlantean civilization they incorporated into their culture, and many other things. So we can't necessarily give you one particular frequency, but a range of frequencies from somewhere around 50 to 60 to 70 to 80,000 cycles per second, depending upon who was doing what in that culture at the time. Good day.
Hello. Hi, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect. And you?
Thank you very much. Good as well. Perfect
Good.
as you are.
All right.
Bashar, I'm very happy to tell you that finally we have a result that prove that the devices that you describe are actually resonators.
Yes.
And we receive 10 times the amplitude of the input. We receive a resonant frequency 10 times greater. But we receive it with the cones that you describe, with the most primitive version.
That's why we gave you that basic form to begin with. It is the core of everything that you are exploring.
Yes, and the frequency that we have resonance is 80 kilohertz, but very interestingly, we have a secondary resonant frequency, which is 3 times higher.
Yes.
240 kilohertz. Again, the resonance is 10 times greater.
Yes.
What I would like to ask you is that we know that sometimes higher voltage does not mean generation of power. How we can improve this? Is there anything else we can do to improve this? Because my passion is to explore the space-time fields and create the device.
And then explore it. You will discover what you need. We have given you enough so that you will have the momentum to use your own imagination, to explore what you need, to find what you need at this moment. You have enough to go on, as you have just discovered and as you have just stated. You're getting the results that you need to take you further.
And I would like to share with you that we have also result. I was listening to your words alone among the nature to get more information of what you have said already.
Yes.
And finally realized that the insulating plates of the anti-gravity device, they need to be not so wide. They need to be gaps.
All right. Well, you see, that's exactly what we're saying. When you take it upon yourself to go into the places that you're attracted to go and go into the states that you're attracted to be in, you will get the information you need. It will be downloaded from many different sources, including us, but you have the ability now to do these things by putting yourself in the proper frame of mind, in the proper environment that is conducive to getting the information that you need. So you now have these abilities. You don't need us as much as you think you do.
Okay.
All right.
My last question is, because you say that some help from Sirius, is there any message or is there any particular permission slip I can using to connect?
Focus on the Mobius strip.
Mobius strip, like the loop, like infinity loop.
Yes. Focus on that in a meditative state. It will help you download the information that you need.
Any particular colors like blue and white and
we leave that up to you, but remember the colors of the signature of Sirius.
Yes, I just make a meditation on that.
All right. Thank you.
Bashar, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of great questions from our viewers.
All right.
First question is from an individual who is saying their wife passed away last Friday, and the person feels overwhelmed. They have 2 children, and they feel guilty and responsible for their lives to move on, as well as since they no longer have a mother figure. And the person's been crying all week, and they're trying to be strong for their children. Do you have any advice for this person? Is there something that their wife or their spirit guide wants them to know? And is this part of their process of going through the eye of the needle? How do they proceed from here?
All right, well, we are not going to necessarily interrupt their grieving period. They must let go of their fear-based beliefs about the situation in whatever timing they feel they can manage. But at the same time, know that this was all done in terms of an arrangement of timing, and that the loved one in spirit can still aid and assist and send messages and love to those still physical. But the idea is guilt does not serve the children that you are responsible for. It will actually prevent you from giving them what they need. There is no reason for you to be guilty. The idea is that this would not necessarily have come to pass if you couldn't handle it, if this wasn't by an arrangement and an agreement what they need. There is no reason for you to be guilty. The idea is that this would not necessarily have come to pass if you couldn't handle it, if this wasn't by an arrangement and an agreement. We would suggest you reach out to your wife, knowing that the sooner you can relax the feelings of grief, use an opportunity for you to align with Spirit more strongly, to receive more messages from her, to receive guidance from her and your spirit guides in terms of what you and the children may require for your continuation on earth. And know that she is always with you, unconditionally loving, sending energy, sending help. More likely you will receive these in dream time. But look around with open eyes at the synchronicities in your life, knowing that many of them may be coming from her as messages to you. Relax your heart and open your heart to receive these messages in the best way you possibly can by looking around and being alert and paying attention to the synchronicities that will crop up in your life, allowing you to move forward in an easier way. We would suggest that you take some time for yourself to visit places that were of interest to both of you when she was alive, knowing that in those places that you love to be together in, there may be more receptivity on your part. And even though you may be crying, know that this is a release and a letting go and an accepting, eventually, of the situation at hand that you have both agreed to for the purpose of stretching you and your children towards spirit, knowing that one of the parents is now in spirit, can help you all progress and ascend and accelerate your learning and your lives and enrich your lives in a number of ways. Explore the idea with your children of communication with spirit, for it is as real as any form of communication, and perhaps in some cases even more real, as you understand that term. But work together with the children to open up in beautiful places to the idea that you can receive messages through synchronicity and in dreams, and maybe in other ways as well. And remember her favorite things. For when you do remember her favorite things, again, you may relax and open your heart to receive more information from her. These would be the things for now that we would suggest to help you through this particular period until such time as you yourself become more accustomed to realizing that as long as you consider this to be a loss, as long as you define it as a loss, then you will only continue to grieve each and every time that your wife may actually reach out to connect to you. You will only interpret her energy as a loss and feel more grief. But if you understand that sometimes what you may feel as grief is simply your interpretation that she is gone, instead of your interpretation that she is there with you and helping you, allow yourself to relax that definition so you can receive the help she is giving, the help she is sending, the information she is sharing with you. That will lead you forward. This is what we have to say at the moment.
What is the difference between guilt and responsibility when it comes to dealing with family members? I've tried to maintain the relationships, but they are no longer exciting. Continuing with these relationships feels heavy and burdening, yet I feel guilt for keeping my distance. I, of course, love them, yet prefer to focus on my own self-discovery. Can you help me in this scenario?
Now, there are two ways to address this. Number one, if you feel it is absolutely true for you to not interact physiologically with these people because you are vibrationally so incompatible that it simply makes no sense to do so, that is a choice you can make. And again, by doing so, it can be the most loving thing you can do by showing them the consequences of not choosing to match your frequency and maintaining the connection on their part. At the same time, if you truly are in touch with yourself and the vibrational state you know is true for you, then in some senses it wouldn't necessarily matter if you maintain a connection physically with them, because it won't affect you. You will not feel guilty. You will just be yourself, and you will know that you're acting as a living example to demonstrate to them different choices they could make. Whether they choose to do so or not is not the point. The point is that you may give them a choice. You may give them an opportunity to choose something different by maintaining a physical connection and not being affected by anything that is vibrationally incompatible with what you prefer to be. But again, it is up to you to decide when you have reached a limit, when you have realized that they may simply not choose to change and may in fact actually push you away by resenting the idea of what you are showing them. And that might be your signal that physical connection may need to cease. So you need to simply prepare yourself to make a choice by first and foremost getting a stronger connection in yourself about what is true for you. Feeling guilty about this will only connect you more to the vibration you say is incompatible and that you don't prefer. So that makes no sense for you to feel the sense of guilt, because all you're doing is accepting the idea that they resent that you are changing. They resent that you are different, perhaps because it acts as an example to them of things they were not willing to face within themselves. You can act as a living example if you maintain your vibration of preference, but again, you don't have to, because even if you don't, it still serves as an indication to them of what choices they have made and the consequences of those choices relative to maintaining a physical relationship with you. So if they wish to do so, they would have to change. Not that they will, but they would have to do so.
How does that apply in a situation where a person has had an abusive childhood and now their aging parents are requiring their support and their attention, and the person feels guilty because they're not willing to be physically present with their parents under the circumstances because of the past?
Again, it's the same that we just said. If you maintain a strong sense of your vibration and at the same time realize that you can be of some assistance to someone, if it is truly true that they need that assistance, you must make that determination for yourself as opposed to things they can do for themselves or not. So if you have determined that you have made a familial connection by being born to these people, and that there is something you could truly help them with to aid and assist them, in whatever they're going through, whatever process they're going through, and yet at the same time maintain the strength of your connection to who you truly are, then you will not be negatively affected by whatever behaviors they may choose to exhibit, knowing that you are being of great assistance to them if they truly need it, and that is the most important thing, is to demonstrate to them the unconditional love that you know can be expressed by you to truly aid and assist them if they truly require it, and at the same time not be negatively affected by whatever their reactions or responses or behaviors may be in that circumstance and situation. And it gives you an opportunity to practice letting go of the idea of the past, since again, if you realize many of the things we have been sharing with all of you, there in a sense is no such thing. You are recreating the idea of abuse in every moment in the present out of your own need to do so. So discontinue your need to hang on to the idea of the abuse because of your belief systems that you may require it for some reason, that it serves you in some way. And when you let that go, you will be able to stand in the face of great opposition, and you will be able to face those fires with coolness and calm them down within yourself, regardless of what the other people may choose to do.
And we've noticed that often when parents get elderly, they get early signs of dementia or behaviors that could be suggestive of dementia. And that part of that can be being abusive and impossible to deal with, in a sense, irrational in their behavior. Is that again this idea of stepping outside of the issues of abuse from the past and simply recognizing that the person is not themselves, in a sense?
Yes.
When they're elderly.
Yes, and if they are experiencing the symptoms you have described, they are usually making their transition, whether quickly or slowly, into spirit, but they may be momentarily confused about what is real, because they are bordering two realities, the physical and the non-physical. And therefore, you can recognize and excuse their behavior as one of confusion. And again, if you stay strong within yourself and know what your truth is, it will not affect you any more than a stranger making an irrational statement would, because they have become strangers to you and you to them in many ways.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about the inherent guilt surrounding religion? This person says, I was brought up in a Jewish tradition, and it's been a long road in terms of shedding guilt. Guilt if you're happy, guilt if you're healthy, guilt if you're wealthy, guilt if the other shoe is going to drop. I would love for you to talk about untangling this kind of guilt.
All right. Well, first and foremost, it's not inherent. It's taught. That's a major distinction to make. And therefore, it can be untaught. It's simply about recognizing whether or not the guilt serves you. As we have talked about the motivational mechanism, please do remember, you absolutely do nothing that you don't believe serves you in some way. So this is about really doing an honest, deep investigation of what it is you believe you're getting out of having the guilt. What does it allow you to experience or not experience that makes you feel safer in having it than in letting it go? This requires a very deep and honest investigation of self in order to admit that if you're holding on to guilt and keep repeating it, no matter how much you were taught it, if you're now able to discern the difference between guilt and freedom, guilt and love, then you have the ability to dive into your motivational mechanism and ask yourself why you would be motivated to continue to perpetuate something if it doesn't really serve you. Because the only way you would keep feeling it is if you believe it does. So it requires a lot of transparent self-investigation to ask the question, what am I getting out of continuing to hold on to guilt? There must be something about holding on to it that makes me feel safer than the alternative. And if you're willing to investigate and go down that path, you will eventually be able to pick it apart and figure out why you're holding on to the guilt, because you think there's some advantage to doing so. Otherwise, you would not feel it at all.
How can we be at peace with the idea that we may have hurt, wronged, or made mistakes with others along the way on our learning journey? How can we release those feelings of guilt and regret about the impact we've had on other lives that may have been negative so that we can move forward in a more aligned way?
Well, the idea is self-forgiveness and the recognition that if you know you made a mistake, so to speak, and are willing to correct it in your own energy and not make the same mistake again and not be abusive to other people in that way because you recognize it is out of alignment with who you prefer to be, then you have corrected the energy and there's no reason for guilt. Guilt perpetuates the idea of the misalignment. So why would you hold on to the idea of misalignment if you recognize that you were misaligned and don't prefer to be misaligned anymore in your behaviors and actions? Why hold on to any remnant of the misalignment which you would experience as guilt if you truly wish to move forward? If you recognize you were misaligned and have a desire to realign yourself and correct the mistake in some way, shape, or form, then there is no vestige of guilt that would remain if you've actually done that. So you can't really move forward until you accept that you made a mistake and now you wish to correct the mistake and the energy within yourself and bring yourself back into alignment.
And along those lines, are there any experiences that are more or less spiritual than others? Is it possible to do a good, bad, better, or worse job with our lifetime? And is there really a mistake? Can we really get this wrong? A lot of these ideas perhaps bring about a lot of self-judgment, so that's why this person is asking the question.
Ultimately, no. You are not judged by all that is or anything except yourself. Ultimately. But there is still the ability to recognize what it is you prefer, what it is you don't, what it is that is vibrationally representative and compatible with who you prefer to be, and when you are in alignment or out of alignment with that. That is the only thing that could be considered a mistake, even though it's not meant in the traditional sense. In other words, a mistake is simply a recognition, an alignment energy that allows you to recognize that you may have been out of alignment with who you really, truly, at your core, are and prefer to be. Oneness and alignment and harmony with all that is. So a mistake, ultimately, no, is something that can be used as a learning experience, a teaching experience, to reflect back to you that you may not necessarily be operating in the state of being you prefer to. And in that sense, if you learn the lesson from that and recognize the truth of that and bring yourself back into alignment, then you have used the so-called mistake in a way that makes it not a mistake, because you've used it in a way that brings you back into harmony, into alignment. So ultimately, no. But in the moment, you can simply recognize and use your words, whatever words you wish to use to identify the misalignment, to bring yourself back in.